Hey guys, it's Jordan with National Speed, and today we're comparing common 6th Gen Camaro bolt-on parts back-to-back on the dyno. Now, our subject for this test is Robert's 2019 Chevrolet Camaro SS, equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission. This Camaro is 100% stock and has super low miles, so it's a perfect candidate for this test. But before we get started, let's go over some important details on our testing method. While we obviously don't have a laboratory-grade dynamometer cell, we've done the best we can to control the variables. All these comparison dyno runs were completed on the same day, done on the same Dynojet 424 XLC2 dyno, tuned by the same calibrator, all with very similar conditions. And also note that the runs were done with the same tire pressure and the same coolant temperature at the beginning of each run. It's about as controlled as we can get without a laboratory setting. So to kick things off, let's start with some baseline dyno pulls. Alright, coming in on the healthier side at 427.77 wheel horsepower and 438.41 pound-feet of torque. Up next, without unstrapping the car, we install our intake system of choice from roto-fab Performance. And Vlad dials in the calibration. Alright, decent bump in performance here, coming in at 434.05 wheel horsepower and 440.82 pound-feet of torque. That's peak gains of 6.28 wheel horsepower and 2.41 pound-feet of torque, with maximum gains of 10.52 wheel horsepower and 12.56 pound-feet of torque. Decent gains, but the real fun here is the louder induction sound. Now, this is our Stage 1 naturally aspirated package for this vehicle, and it's a great foundational starting point on the roadmap. Up next, into the shop to install our long tube headers of choice for naturally aspirated applications. Stainless Works Stainless Power 1 7/8 long tube headers with GESI high flow catalytic converters. Now, while we love the Stainless Works options for forced induction and high power setups, we prefer their Stainless Power line for most naturally aspirated setups. In short, they're just a better value with very little compromise. And if you're curious to learn more about the differences, we did a video on this exact topic, which you can find on our channel. Now, while we're in there, we also install new NGK spark plugs with Hinton spark plug wires wrapped in DEI protective boots. These heat-resistant sleeves protect the spark plug wires from the header primary's radiant heat. And back to the dyno for Vlad to dial in the calibration. Okay, that definitely shows up, coming in at 448.45 wheel horsepower and 453.33 pound-feet of torque. Over the intake, that's peak gains of 14.40 wheel horsepower and 12.51 pound-feet of torque, with maximum gains of 15.93 wheel horsepower and 16.77 pound-feet of torque. And over stock, that's peak gains of 20.68 wheel horsepower and 14.92 pound-feet of torque, with maximum gains of 23.40 wheel horsepower and 23.34 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is our Stage 2 naturally aspirated package, and as you can both see and hear, it's a nice step up from Stage 1 in terms of both power and sound. And without unstrapping the car, we install our go-to intake manifold solution for street applications. MSD Atomic Air Force intake manifold paired with a Nick Williams 103mm throttle body. Great fit, OEM-like finish, and as for performance, well, let's find out. Yep, that shows up. Over the intake and headers, that's peak gains of 14.82 wheel horsepower and 9.27 pound-feet of torque, with maximum gains coming in at 38.97 wheel horsepower and 31.12 pound-feet of torque. And it is worth noting that small loss of 8 wheel horsepower and 5 pound-feet of torque at 3,800 RPM, but we'd say those maximum gains more than offset that blip. And over stock, peak gains of 35.50 wheel horsepower and 24.19 pound-feet of torque, with maximum gains of 54.99 wheel horsepower and 44.09 pound-feet of torque. As you can see, this combination really shines in the upper RPM. Serious gains all the way to redline. And this is our Stage 3 naturally aspirated package, which, as you can see, absolutely sets off a stock sealed LT1's performance. Huge gains across the entire power band without any negative impact on drivability, reliability, or efficiency. Alright, so we just threw a bunch of information at you, so let's review the data. Stock baseline, with the addition of the roto-fab intake system, plus stainless power long tube headers, plus the MSD Atomic Air Force intake manifold with the Nick Williams 103mm throttle body. Now, the great thing about these foundational modifications is that they perfectly complement an upgraded camshaft when you're ready to dig into the motor and really step things up. But until you get to that point, you've got plenty of extra horsepower and sound to keep you entertained. Well guys, there you have it. Hopefully this data helps you make the most cost-effective decision for your modification roadmap. And if you found this information useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay tuned for more. And as always, if you have any questions at all, we're happy to chat. Thanks for watching.